Mike stared at Rosa's blue eyes, seeing her angry and confused face awaiting answers on how he could change his appearance seemingly at will. She let go of him and patted him down. "Can I explain myself?" Mike asked nervously as she put her hand on his pockets.
"Shut the fuck up! You've done nothing but lie to me!"
she finally replied while checking the contents of his pockets and tossing them onto the table one by one. She threw his lighter, a pack of cigarettes, stacks of folded cash, and prayer beads. Rosa examined the prayer beads for a moment, as the symbols etched on it seemed familiar.
This is the symbol of one of our main patron gods in the old elven pantheon, Ilune. So, Mike, I never figured you for the religious type. It's been a while since I've seen these things. Only old people carry this these days." She tossed the prayer beads onto the table along with the rest.
"Maybe, but I'm old school that way," Mike replied. He internally facepalmed as he realized he could have just asked Ilune to tell him what to say, to make a more believable backstory instead of going on his own. Rosa shifted her position to check his back pockets, taking her time to take advantage of the opportunity to cop a feel on a male for the first time in her life, caressing and squeezing his butt cheeks and his thigh. Mike saw a window of opportunity to grab the prayer beads in front of him, while Rosa was distracted so he could contact Ilune. "Hey, Ilune, a little help? She's onto me."
"Don't worry. You're doing good, Mike. Just give it some more time. I'll tell you when you can turn around to face her. Then, try to act superior. I'm almost done summoning Klaus to this world. We'll need to time this right."
Mike nodded in acknowledgement. Rosa pulled out Mike's ID card, breaking the passive illusion spell, but she didn't notice the change on Mike's face, as she was too busy examining his employee ID.
An ID with gibberish words on it. Clearly a poorly made fake ID, but what material is this?"
"What, never seen plastic before?" Mike replied, not realizing his ID was no longer in his possession.
"Wovim zum Teufel reden Sie?"
Rosa said in response, but Mike couldn't understand what she said.
"Okay, Mike, don't turn around just yet. Wait until the lights flicker. You need to buy yourself time until that happens."
"Okay, but how? She's got her guard up now." Mike thought in worry while listening to Rosa talk gibberish behind him.
"She has your ID, Mike, but don't worry, I'll translate for you. Just make sure to not let her see your face just yet." "Antworte mir, verdammt!"
Rosa exclaimed, getting further irritated being ignored.
"Sind Sie taub oder dumm?"
Ilune, what's she saying?" Mike asked worriedly.
"Nothing important, I assure you."
Mike felt a sudden pain in the back of his head. He had been pistol-whipped by Rosa while she continued to make angry German noises. For a moment, he had his ears ringing from the pain, only to hear muffled sounds caused by the head injury. Mike used his arms to protect his head as Rosa continued to pummel him with her pistol, until the lights started to flicker.
"Hold on, Mike. Just a little more,"
said Ilune telepathically. "Easy for you to say. This bitch be crazy. Oh God, this hurts like a motherfucker!" Suddenly, Mike and Rosa could hear the roar of cheers from the other room, until everything went black, and suddenly everything went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Ilune? Anyone? Am I dead?"
"Halt die Klappe, du redest schon wieder Unsinn. Es ist nur ein Sturmsfall."
Mike groaned in frustration. "For the last time, lady, I don't know what the fuck you're on about." Mike suddenly felt a buzz in his head.
"Mike, get ready. The summoning caused the citywide blackout. When the lights are back on, you need to stand up slowly and make a slow turn to face Rosa."
Mike nodded in compliance. The lights in the interrogation room flickered back to life. You could hear the cheers from the other room again, all chanting, "Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil!" Mike, seeing that it was time, slowly stood up while wiping blood from the back of his head.
"Sie sind ein harter Brocken. Das muss ich gehen lassen. Sind Sie bereit zu reden?"
Mike could still hear Rosa talking to him.
"Mike, try to act superior. It should give you an opening."
"Okay, but what's she saying?"
"Nothing important."
"Nothing important, my ass!" He slowly turned around to look Rosa straight in her eyes. She stumbled backwards with shock in her face. Her skin paled and was frozen in fear from the realization of not just what she had done, but whom she'd done it to.
Mein Führer!"
Mike understood what Rosa mumbled, seeing the human in front of her, handcuffed and bloodied from her hands. If anyone walked into the room, she would be sentenced to death by her fellow officers in the other room. She dropped her pistol and fell on her knees in tears from having subjected their new hero to her mistreatment, unaware that the actual summoned hero was in the Capitol building.
Nein, 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 nein! Es tut mir leid, mir Anführer, ich pflicht dich an, bitte vergib mir.
Mike could not believe the shock on her face, pleading and crying which didn't need translation to understand what she was conveying. He needed to get his ID from her. He raised his hand, gesturing Rosa to stand up. She slowly struggled to get back on her feet, with her knees still weak from the shock. She wiped away the tears on her face and straightened herself, but still had the look of shame and fear on her face. He pointed his finger to the handcuffs, gesturing for her to unlock them. She meekly complied, her hand shaking as she inserted her key. Must maintain the act, Mike thought to himself, remaining silent. He offered his hand, letting Rosa know to give him his ID. He finally put his ID back into his pocket, but his face still revealed his human form, as it required observers to break line of sight in order for the illusion to kick in. Mike, still remaining silent throughout the whole ordeal, tried to assert an authoritative impression on her, like a disappointed father figure. He picked up his stuff from the table while Rosa stared at him in awe.
My Führer?
Rosa squeaked, in an attempt to cut the silent tension.
I apologize for my transgression, O great leader. Our new hero, please forgive me.
Mike, still recovering from the pain she inflicted on him, couldn't help but feel annoyed. Cut the shit with this Führer crap. I ain't your leader. I just want to go home at this point. Mike sighed as he saw Rosa's face in tears and couldn't help but feel sympathetic to the Nazi elf girl. Seeing the blood dripping down from his head to his neck broke Rosa from her trance, and she tried to grab anything that could be used to wipe off the blood. In a panic, she took a handkerchief. Mike frustratingly grabbed the cloth from her hand. He wiped the blood dripping down his neck and applied pressure to the wound on his head. He stared intensely at her, then took a look at her belt as well as her holstered gun and 3 magazines. Yoink! I'ma keep this, and these for now. He holstered the pistol in the back of his pants between his butt crack. Ooh, that's cold! And stored the magazines in his pockets. I've had my eye on these things since the start. Pretty sweet. Can't wait to test these out. He looked Rosa up and down. Your coat, necktie, and your hat. Give it to me. He used her necktie as a bandage, then covered it with her hat. He tried to put on her coat, but it was too small for him. He scanned the room and saw another coat just hanging there. I command you to give me that coat over there. Rosa looked down in shame and fear as she complied. Mike couldn't help but feel sorry for the girl. She handed him the officer's trench coat. He put on the coat and tied himself up, before approaching close to her in an attempt to put her at ease and comfort the poor girl. He suddenly extended his arms, inviting her to a hug to let her know that she was forgiven, and that it was all water under the bridge. He tried to hide his pained expression, and struggled in vain to play it cool. It just made his facial expression look intense. He tried to smile despite the pain, which only served to make him look smug. Rosa flinched from Mike's sudden movement, and she stumbled back in fear. From her point of view and seeing Mike's face, he was asserting dominance by T-posing.